Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Howdy, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. I never knew he was from Texas.
I didn't either.
Whether you're watching us live or if you're listening to us or watching the program later on, we're really glad that you decided to be in your audience and to be a part of Meet the Author podcast. Oh, look, here's host of Down Under Interviews.
Hello,
with Paul Rushworth Brown from sunny Sydney. Hey, so
Down
glad
Under.
you can make it. Joe Conjal says, hi, Rob and Joan.
Hello,
Joe. Paul Hollis said, good evening, Rob and Joan. Hello, Paul. We're glad that you're here.
Paul.
And George Dismuke says, okay, all four
And
Dismukes
George.
are here. Me, Nadine, Daisy, and Gizmo.
Nadine, we hope that you're feeling better today.
And our love to all four of you.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
For sure.
Jim McClinton. And if I butchered your name, I'm really sorry. He says, hi, all. Hi, Jim.
Okay.
Everybody
So-
knows I can butcher names pretty well.
Yes, pretty well.
It's my specialty.
I do worse.
You do.
Yeah, I do. You don't have to agree with me so quickly.
It's the truth.
Okay. That's true. Okay. Well, it's been quite a week. Let's see. Coming up this week, let's go right to the calendar. That's about all the news we have, actually, put together for this week. Tomorrow is, what day is tomorrow? That
Thursday.
would be Thursday, the 24th of October. WDJYFM.com or 99.1 FM in Atlanta. Be rebroadcasting the Underground Authors Plenty of Murders Go Around episode, 9 o'clock Eastern time here in the U.S., and that's Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles. And that one featured, I think it was the number 2 episode of the year for them. And it was Brakefield and Berkey and Richard Schwint were featured on that one. This Saturday for episode Rewind at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, basically right here where you're watching right now, is going to be Guy Robin over in France. And he's a UK author, lives in France now with he and his wife, a retired policeman.
And we really enjoyed his interview. He's a great guy.
So that'll be this coming Saturday.
He's going to be on live. He wants to be on live.
He'll be on in December, live.
In December.
Late at night in France.
And you'll have to tune in because he's really funny.
He is. He's a real pip.
Sort of like our guest tonight.
Yeah.
Who's really funny also.
There you go. Next week on live, we have Sarah Lynn Richard. She'll be on. And that's October 30th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time right here where you're watching right now. Don't want to miss that one. And tomorrow night, we have Haunted Campfire Tales. Yay!
Yay,
so
part
you can
two,
go to
Joe.
our Haunted Campfire Tales Facebook page or on YouTube on at Meet the Author Podcast on YouTube. You can join us live there, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
I'm not sure if Les and Beth will be able to have all of their photographs and stuff because they went through 2 hurricanes and
I got a bunch of them before from
so we'll try and get those up for you
uploaded.
And plus we have one that our son got from a comic book store owner here in town, which I mean when I saw it I got all excited.
Photograph he took in the store. It wasn't a comic book.
No,
to be clear.
It was in the store. It was an entity in the store. And when our son showed it to me, I picked it up and I went, oh, and our son started to laugh because I got so excited. But yeah, those
cool.
things are exciting. Yeah, you'll like it.
All right, and the last bit of news on our calendar is for next Tuesday evening. That's the 29th of October. We're going to be on, Joan and I are going to be on Terry Brown's podcast, Online for Authors. And you can find out more on terrymbrown.com. That'll be 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And you'll have to go there or watch our posts to see where to
And we'll
connect.
be talking about our books.
We'll be talking about our stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun for a change.
Maybe tell some jokes.
No.
No, you don't want to tell jokes. Okay. All right. Well, then I suppose. Let's see. What do we got here? Oh, Joe.
Not Joe.
Paul Rushworth Brown says, Joe, I shared your book on social media. Thank you, Paul, or Joe. I'm sure Joe will say thank you. All right. So.
Please bring Dave on.
Okay. Okay. Without further ado.
Too much to do already.
Our guest tonight is Dave Murray. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Hi, Rob and Joan. How are you?
Good.
We're really good. How are you?
I'm really, really glad to be here. It's just terrific. Just thank you so much.
And
before I get going, got to show you my Halloween shirt. See, it's a lung shirt.
Oh my gosh. That's
my sister dropped it off yesterday.
That is pretty cool.
Did she have that made for you?
No, she works for a guy who wholesales T-shirts, and he made a bunch for Upstate Hospital here in Syracuse. And she nabbed one in my size and dropped it off.
That's so fabulous.
And I saved it for the show.
That is so amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Very cool.
Well,
I didn't do anything. I just put it on.
Tell people why we think that your Halloween T-shirt, which those that are listening, you have to know this shows 2 lungs, okay? And it has ghosty things in it besides lungy things. And why is that so apropos for you, Dave? Why don't you share with our audience?
The lung shirt is because I, Dave Murray, had a double lung transplant 20 years ago in August of 2004. After I was born with cystic fibrosis, which is an inherited disease, but I didn't know I had it till I was 19.
Wow.
Mild cases back then, especially. I was tested when I was 5, and that's in the book, the story, which is pretty funny. But I was retested at my mom's urging when I was 19. Come on, Mom, I don't have CF. I'd be dead. Well, I had CF. And I had myself buried after that. I lived a life of, live fast, die hard. But I didn't die. I was pretty healthy for quite a long time. I mean, relatively. But then in my 40s, it caught up to me. There's a bug called Pseudomonas that most people with CF are colonized by, and that begins to take the lungs apart, and that put me in the position where I had to have a transplant. And
Amazing.
Yeah,
Joe Ponchel has something to say.
Of course, Joe.
All right.
Yes.
A paragraph. Hi, Dave. So back in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a lot of talk throughout the college basketball world about a guy named Dave Murray changing basketball player Tony Jett's shot. What's the story behind that amazing feat?
Tony Jett was not a college basketball player. He was just a good basketball player, and we played pickup ball in Joe's driveway. And Tony was a lot better than the rest of us. But one time he went up for a shot and I went to block it and he had to change it. And I yelled, I changed Tony Jett's shot. And so from there on, that always became a catchphrase. Yeah. So that's the story.
Joe will never let you forget it.
What's that?
Joe will
never let you forget it.
I'll never forget it either. It was the highlight of my basketball career.
In Joe's driveway.
In Joe's driveway, Boulevard Street.
So what led you to write your book?
Well, I don't really know the direct impetus. I do know that almost exactly the same time I started writing it, and then I went wasn't sure if I was going to do it. I went to see Bonnie Raitt. Great show. She's wonderful. And she did a song called Just Like That about a guy who drives around the neighborhood and finally gets the nerve to knock on the door and meet the donor of his heart, the donor's family of his heart. And it was like such serendipity that I says, I really have to finish this book. And so it took me a long time. I took 6 months off. I had a good friend prod me to get back in the game, and I finished it, I guess, in July, I guess. So I thought it was a story I could tell. I wanted to fictionalize it because I didn't, number one, remember all the exact details. And number two is I wanted to change all the names. All the names are changed. You know, I'm Danny Martini, and everybody's different. But it was a long experience, but it was good. I had a lot of help from guys like Joe, my friend Carl at work, and you know, it takes a village, right? Even when you're writing a book, solid.
So the title of his book is A Breath of Fresh Air, a Transplant Tale by Dave Murray. So did you meet the family of your donor?
No. Little spoiler alert. If you guys don't want to hear the rest of this, turn your volume down. Okay. That whole thing, I do meet him in the book, but it was fiction, as was the story of the donor himself. I never got an opportunity to meet the family, and I wish I had. I sent him a couple letters. First one was early, and I understand everything was too raw. And then I dropped off a letter at the Cleveland Clinic where I had the transplant in July, but still haven't heard from them. So I'm perfectly okay with it. I decided I was gonna, I guess to give a little kick to the story, write the story as if I had met them.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, it's a fictionalized true story.
That's right.
Yeah.
The medical stuff, I like to say, is 98% accurate.
Yeah.
You know, some of the dates are changed, some of the stuff's flipped around, but as best I can recall, everything that happened medically was accurate, and a lot of the personal stories are too. So
I would guess that would be a difficult thing, and it would depend on the person, right? Whether you wanted to meet the donor's family or whether the donor's family wanted to meet you. That would have to be a very individual, personal decision, unique to each person, each case. I would guess. I don't know. I've never had a transplant. So.
I think you're right. I think it, regardless of how much time has passed, it might just be too difficult.
Yeah.
You know?
For certain people.
Pardon me?
For certain people.
Other people might find it, if you're the donor family, cathartic. You know,
yes.
To complete that circle, which is how I painted it in the book. I thought, you know, I did a pretty good job of that. So I've been told that those two fictional chapters are the best part of the book. So I don't know what that means, but I'm glad.
It means you're a good writer.
I guess it means I'm a good writer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am a good writer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it means that you could express something very real.
Yes.
You know, very authentic.
Right. Yep. So I self-published, you know, like most of us these days. My friend Joe Conjal told both me and my other friend Carl, who also wrote a book. His book is called, if I can plug it here, The Greatest Record Ever Made. It's 145 essays about the greatest record ever made, one record at a time. But we all use the same publisher, the direct-to-digital publishing company, and have had really good success. It's a good company. But Joe told me that, go with these guys, and it worked out really good.
Well, good. I'm glad that you've had a good experience.
I thought of looking for a publisher, but 68-year-old first-time novelist, they're not beating down the doors. You know, they're just not gonna.
Well, honestly, they don't do that much for you. Most publishing companies don't anyway.
Unless
So,
you're a huge star, in which case you already have that built-in clientele.
nope.
No? Okay.
We've had New York Times bestsellers on here. They have to do a lot of their own marketing. I mean, of the big five, they've been with the big five, and
Oh, wow.
they
Yeah.
have their own agents for print and for, TV and for radio, and they still have to do a lot of their own marketing. There's a bunch of comments here. Jim says, Dave, I loved your book and really liked reading all about the early years, your music influences, etc. You also mentioned writing a lot throughout your life. Have you given any thought to another book? That's a really excellent question,
And
Jim.
what would you
That's
write
an excellent question, James.
And what would you write about?
That's also an excellent question. I
Yes.
don't have an answer yet. I'm not going to just jump in and start writing another book. First of all, I'm still trying to market this one. But an idea will come to me eventually, I think. And then when that happens, I'll write at a pretty brisk pace, as long as I know, like you guys know, the beginning, middle, and end. And I have to have those before I can get started. So when I wrote this book, I had the ending already sketched out in my head. So yeah, that's a good question, Jim. And I would like to write another book. I'm glad you like this one, though.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Joe Conjal says, Dave's not only a good writer, he's also a good editor. He's helped me immensely over the years with my writing.
Back at you, Joe. He helped me too. He's Joe gets better every book. He really does. Not that he wasn't good at the beginning, because he was, but you know how it is. The more you write, the better your writing gets. You really, just in the course of writing this book, I go back and look at earlier drafts and I go, oh my. And, I'm sure you guys have been through the same thing. Just like, wow, and things that I was going to leave in that I excised. You really, editing is really the fun part, even though it's tedious sometimes.
I don't know about Rob, but for a long time, I really hated our first book and wanted us to rewrite it, okay, and had trouble with it. And now I look back at it and I read it again, and I'm like, dang, that was pretty good. So
Yeah.
I think it kind of, yeah. I mean, and we had edited it at least 5 times, so before it was ever published. But I think you go through phases like that as an editor, where you're like, oh, I really like that, and then you're like, oh, I could have done that better, and then, oh no, that was really pretty good.
I definitely hit the wall there last fall, about a year ago. It was done, sort of, and then I knew I had to go through and do a final edit, and it kept calling me from the other room, come here, but I just couldn't do it. 6 months off, and it was, I was really wondering if I was going to get it done, but I got a kick in the ass, pardon me, and finish it. Yeah, we can say yes, right?
Yes, we sure can.
I won't say anything worse.
Paul Hollis always says that after you've written the book and rewritten it 3 times, that you get sick of it and you never want to read it again.
I will probably never read this book.
It's like, you just like it. No, trust me, 10, 12 years later, you will.
We've got a couple of comments and questions coming up here, but we're going to go ahead and take our first. We're going to take our first break.
Sorry, I just read Joe Conjal's comment. Oh, you'll all have to wait until after.
Right. So we'll be right back. Don't go away, folks.
All right.
This novel, set against the backdrop of the English Civil War, explores love and survival amidst the chaos of war. It combines historical events with personal narratives, highlighting the impact of conflict on individuals and families. England, 1642. When bloody civil war breaks out between the king and parliament, families and communities are driven by different allegiances. Red Winter Journey is a sweeping tale of adventure and loss, sacrifice and love, with a unique and unforgettable story of a mother's love for her son at its heart. A historic journey of twists, turns, and a dash of spirited passion.
I finished reading the book a couple of days ago. It was a great read. The plot was indeed compelling, and I loved the conclusion. What I particularly enjoy in Paul's novels is his vivid recounting of historical details as to the social and cultural sides at the time. His characters are very likable and relatable.
It's 1919, and Eric Laska returns from the war in Europe. Two new enemies await him in the small coal mining town he calls home. One is a threat to his relationship with Rebecca, the love of his life. The other, a bloodthirsty beast, is stalking the mining town residents. The townspeople suspect Eric of one of the killings. An old man and Rebecca's 11-year-old sister have seen the beast, but only Eric believes their story. To protect the town and clear his name, he's forced to prove the werewolf exists. Available on Amazon. The Horror Within by Marjorie Swift Doring.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Now comes part 4 in the Jaguar series by retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. In this saga, Brandon, Andrea, and Naja, the Black Jaguar, go deep into the Mato Grosso jungle on a mission to rescue 2 kidnapped children. During their journey, they encounter many dangers, including Yanomami Indians, bent on revenge for the murder of one of their warriors.
Return of the Jaguar is book 4 in the Jaguar series, starting with 2 faces of the Jaguar, the Lost City, and the Jaguar's Quest. All 4 are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other bookseller websites worldwide. Return of the Jaguar is a must-read.
And we're back. And I have to read Joe's comment.
All right.
Joe Conjal says, was your humor column reason the Syracuse New-Times closed up? LOL.
I can't even take the blame for that. No, I closed my humor column long before the New-Times folded. You know seriously, you know what a problem it is for newspapers of all types. And the New-Times was around for 50 years. I'm sorry?
I said, that isn't even funny. You know,
Right.
It's just sad. I feel sad.
Sure.
I miss newspapers.
It was around for about 50 years, and it was just revered in town.
Yeah.
There was no, when it left, there was no substitute for it, it is with, you got newspapers all over the country that are folding.
Mm-hmm.
And you try to read them online and you get bombarded with all these commercials and ads.
You do.
And stuff. That's not even worth it.
No, it isn't. The digital newspaper isn't worth it. Washington Post is digital. A lot of them are digital, and you just stuff inserts itself unless you buy a subscription. And
well, even then, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's tough to read them.
I have a subscription to the New York Times, but I had one for the Post, but I dropped it. I just didn't have the time, Yeah. So I read the Times as much as I can every day, but that works.
So Jim says, what advancements have been made since your diagnosis and transplant? You're just full of good questions, Jim.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of stuff that, frankly, because I'm not immersed in the community anymore, if I ever was. There's a medicine called Trikafta, which addresses the genetic problem in what's called the FK506, the most common mutation. And that has really given kids years on their life. It fixes the digestive issues, which are common, and it fixes, or it really helps, the lung issues. So that's the biggie. But I would guess that you're going to see that gene therapy is going to make big strides, especially, everybody hates AI and is afraid of it. But I think AI is going to lead the way to solving problems that are just too complicated for even regular computers. And when that happens, I think you'll see a gene therapy for a lot of medicine or a lot of diseases that will really help. But when I was diagnosed, the average lifespan was 31. I think it's 46 or 48 now. So they've really, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the number now. A baby being born now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a recessive gene. So,
and it has to be in both parents, if I remember correctly.
Right, yeah. So if my mom had the recessive gene, the bad one, and my sisters didn't get it, but I got it. So
yeah.
I like to say I was lucky just to get to see it.
Just out of curiosity, after you had your transplant,
yes,
how long did it take you to recover and feel like you had actually recovered? That it was like complete, or has it?
Or that he had a breath of fresh air.
There you go.
The kids like to say your mileage may vary, and that's true here. I have another friend that had a single lung transplant, and he struggled. He had it in November, and he's been struggling. Me, it was textbook. I mean, I was out of the hospital in 10 days. I was off oxygen in 5, and never used it again. And walking a mile or 2 miles or as long as I want now. My legs are the problem more than my lungs. My lungs are great. But, I'm 68, going on 88, my body is. And no, I'm completely 100% normal, I think.
Are your lungs younger than you?
That we don't know. I almost guarantee it. Because I was 48 when I got the transplant. Pardon me, 42. No, 48. And I don't know who the donor was, so. But we think so.
And Joe says he suspects Jim's nurse wife is feeding him questions.
I suspect Jim is coming up with these on his own.
Yeah, he's been asking good questions, actually.
I wanted to take a moment, and this is not my first book. This is my first book.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah? I don't know if you can see it.
How's training your VCR? For those of you who are not watching and just listening.
Yeah. And what it was...
Yeah, well, first of all, you might want to explain what a VCR is. There may be a lot of people listening to this that don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Back in my day. VCRs were little machines. You put a tape in and you could record TV programs, which you can't even do anymore. There's no way, unless you get the DVR from a cable or satellite company, there's no real way to record. But VCRs were historically hard to use. And over some beers at the bar, Joe was there probably, we were talking about how bad the manuals were. And somebody said to me, I think they said it to me, you should write a book about it. And I said, yeah, why not? I mean, you need that kind of inspiration. But I knew what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be amusing and easy to read and not intimidating like manuals could be. And it was funny. It is funny. And Joe is my illustrator, by the way.
Yes, we know that.
We joked that I was going to take his daughter, Rita, and hang her over the railing of his house until he finished the artwork for the pages that were due. And he was a procrastinator. He's got much better work ethic now.
Well, he still has his VCR too, I think.
He probably does. I have one. I never use it.
I remember back, way back in the day when VCR was the newest and latest thing. Our neighbors had those big discs. Do you remember that system?
Laserdisc. Yeah, Laserdisc.
The Laserdisc.
Yep.
The people across the street bought that. We bought a VCR.
Well, they bought Beta, didn't they?
They had those big laser discs.
They had the Laserdisc too, but they also, when we went...
Laserdisc, though, just played, but Beta and VHS, the two competing formats,
Right.
both of those
So-
are cool.
They had those big floppy disks, and I
They
can
did.
remember them saying to us, "Oh, this is so much better than what you've got, and it's a much better deal." And 15 years later, when we were still able to buy things,
That's right.
they
Yeah.
couldn't. Well, now it's all obsolete, but
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
yeah. But it was, you're right. It was better at the time. Your friend was right, but you couldn't record on it.
Yeah.
And
You could get a whole movie on there. It was pretty cool.
you could get a whole movie on it. Yeah.
Joe Conchal said, "I do have a VCR. I also have cassette tape deck, and a turntable.
Turntable.
Yeah, I don't have a tape deck anymore, but do you have an
Turntables
8-track,
are
Joe?
cool.
Our grandson has a turntable.
Oh yeah, a lot of young kids are buying turntables now and vinyls. It's a big.
They love it. They love it.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Well,
a cartoon.
The
I'm sorry?
sound generally was better if you had the right kind of meter, the right kind of tuner, you had to, and the right speakers. So you had to have the right kind of combination.
You really need a pretty high-end system to appreciate the difference, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But there's a cartoon that's made the rounds for a long time. Two guys are standing in front of his stereo. It's a record player and a whole bunch of records behind. He says, "The thing I like about vinyl is the cost and the inconvenience." But yeah, they're back. Vinyl's back. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for some people, it's never been out.
Yeah.
A lot of people have always preferred vinyl.
Right.
Yep. Purists,
No, sure. I was never a purist.
No, I've never
I
been
wasn't either.
purist either.
No. I went through every format you could imagine, but I was always in search of, better sound, but not any.
Had the old 8-track in the van that I was driving, and had a little box with all my 8-track tapes, and take one out and pop in the next one.
We still have a trunk of 8 tracks.
Oh, that's funny. They're still in the trunk. Really? Oh, that kind of trunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not the car trunk. We have a travel trunk that I
You
keep.
probably can sell those.
Probably.
But I don't know who's going to buy them.
Joe might buy them.
But
Joe
I
might
want to keep them. They are ones that meant something to me.
Sure.
They mean something to me.
Yep.
It's like what was that movie? It means something. Oh, I know.
Close Encounter.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
The mashed potatoes.
It means.
Oh, yeah. That was so great.
It was great.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your biggest challenge in writing the book?
You
could name one thing that was the hardest thing to,
I'm like most writers. I've said this to Joe before. I said, do you ever just sit there at your computer and think that there's somebody leaning over your shoulder going, "This is crap. This is just crap." And he said, all the time. And I think a lot of writers feel it. Like, if you don't, wow. But I certainly felt that way. I thought, nobody's going to like this. Nobody's going to want to read this. It's too long, which is 356 pages. And I thought it was too long, but people breeze through it. So the biggest challenge was, like I said, that hump where I couldn't get over, where I just stopped editing and I wasn't sure I was going to get back to it.
Yeah. That was the worst part. Okay.
That was the worst part. But I had to do quite a bit of research, even though it's a subject I knew well.
Right.
But I wanted to make sure all the scientific facts were accurate as best I could. And building characters, and you know how it is to write a book. It's a lot more work. People always think, everybody says to you, and I'm sure you've heard this, I should write my life story. Right? Everybody says that. But
yeah.
I never would have said that. I mean, my life story is interesting, but so is everybody's. But because I had the transplant, because I celebrated 20 years, I thought that was a hook.
It's important.
Oh, it is important.
It's important.
It's going to reach hopefully it's going to reach people with CF, people with any kind of transplant, or people with any kind of medical thing they have to overcome.
Yep, it's going to give people hope.
Yes, I think it does. I think it's a positive book, and I'm getting nice reviews everywhere, and that's very gratifying.
Yeah, and it's been 20 years, so that's very encouraging for people.
And it's a really pretty seamless 20 years. Pretty seamless. I mean,
wonderful.
that's not frequent. People have rejection issues all the time.
Yep.
I'm like walking on the tightrope across the Grand Canyon for 20 years. That's
Amazing.
what it feels like, because you're just strike a balance between not being able to fight off infection or fighting it off too well, and your legs going bad. So I don't know how it's happened, but I'm here.
There you go.
So Joe says, serious question. You said you knew the end of your book before you wrote it. He said he knew the beginning, the middle, and the end. Did you outline the whole book, or were you a pantser?
I guess the pantser, the seat of your pants, is what that means?
Right.
Yeah. I'm not a pantser, without question. I'm not disciplined enough to write an outline. When we had to do it in school, I couldn't do it.
I hated that part of school.
I could not do it. It just was hard, so I didn't do it. But yeah, I'm a pantser. But like you said, you have the scaffolding. The beginning, I had an idea what the beginning chapter was going to be, and then I knew what the big chunk in the middle, my life leading up to the transplant. I decided not to go beyond the transplant to any great degree, because I lead a pretty simple life. It's not like one of my friends suggested, you should go on Jeopardy or whatever, things like that make the book more exciting since it's fiction. I just decided not to do that. I decided to end basically the story when I walked in the front door of my house, for the most part. And then I had the ending set up, as I talked about before. But yeah, I'm a pantser.
But that walking in the door of your house, that's a very emotional ending.
Yeah.
I mean, that's everything, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was like, because I said twice, because I had given away too much here, but I had a false alarm. False alarm is not the right term, but you go, get all prepped, and then they tell you the legs are bad. So then you have to go back home. And so twice I waited for my ride outside my house, and I said, I might never be back here again. This might be it. I might never see this house again. And, or my friends, or a lot of things, and that happens. It really does happen. So yeah, I couldn't be, I know what I wanted to talk about. This is really important. I have in the acknowledgments, I call it standing on the shoulders of giants. And what I mean by that is, and you know this too, nobody gets where they are on their own. Nobody does. You need to have friends. You need to have parents. You need to have big brothers. You need to have coworkers that will guide you, teach you things. I think I did a pretty good job of meeting the right people. I was so fortunate that I met the right people at the right time. And those people made it possible for me to be here today. And they're all acknowledged in pretty great detail in the beginning of the book. And I want to thank you all again, whoever, if you're listening, that I couldn't have done it without you. And that's not just one person, that's a bunch of people.
Oh, yeah.
That's wonderful.
Takes a lot of people to accomplish what happened to you, for you to benefit from it,
Right.
Never mind all of the patients who didn't make it at the very beginning. So,
and I know
that
people like that.
Yeah.
I had a couple of friends, and it was heartbreaking. You feel a little bit guilty. Not really, you shouldn't, but why me? Why not them?
It's survivor's guilt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe Conjal has a question.
Go, Joe.
As a writer, do you feel it's important to never let anyone borrow your pen?
Thanks, Joe.
All right, I'll tell the story. but I'm going to have to clean up the language. I was waiting for the day to end one day at the store we used to work at. And a woman walked over to the typewriter section. That's how long ago this was. Kids, if you're listening, a typewriter was a computer without the computer. And a lady walks over and she says, "Can I get some help over here?" So I said, "Well, I don't really work in this department, but I'll come over and try to fake it, So I'm trying to explain to her, it's the end of a long day and everybody's tired. She goes, yeah. Do you have a pen? So I said, sure. So she starts taking notes and I'm still explaining. And she says, yeah, but you already told me that. And she just hit me the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I reach over and I grab her pen, my pen. And I go, give me my pen back then. And she looked at me and she said, F you. Just like that.
Ooh, no.
Very funny. Yeah.
Goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. So that was funny. If you, maybe you had to be there, but it was so funny that she reacted.
I could just see it happen. That's the way you told that.
I worked in retail at Home Depot. Mm-hmm. I was in charge of all of our vendors.
Okay.
And, so everybody that puts up the windows and all that kind of stuff, which also meant that, if anyone had a problem with the way their windows were put in or their roof, that I was the one that they came to.
Great.
So, yes. And I can remember days. Do you remember that one little old lady?
Mm-hmm.
She was like teeny tiny. And at that time she was probably, I guess, in her 80s. So she's probably dead now. But
at the rate she was going, she probably would be.
Yeah, she probably didn't last much longer.
Right.
Oh my goodness. And she was
You didn't kill her.
No, I didn't kill her. She looked like a very sweet little old lady, right?
Right.
And I just happened to be standing at the cash register when she came up to complain about her water heater being put in and how it had caused the sink in her kitchen to leak. And which, trust me, it doesn't work that way.
I don't think there's a connection, right?
No connection. And so I was trying to explain that to her because, the cashier said to me, ta-da, this happens to be the person that you need to talk to. Oh my gosh, this lady could swear like a trooper. You have never heard such blue language in your life. And she was screaming at me for 20 minutes. And there was a huge long line behind her. And the people in the line were like, just mortified and felt so bad for me. I thought it was hysterically funny because she was getting angrier and angrier. And I was like, sweetie,
how's it going to fix it? Right.
Nothing I can do for you.
Right.
We need to do our last break.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when we come back, we're going to let everybody know how to reach you.
Okay.
Well, hopefully they'll be happy to reach you.
I hope so.
I'm sure they will be. Don't go away, folks.
The clock is ticking. Can Gracie uncover the truth?
Philip Pliant is the wealthy opportunist plastics dealer and CEO of Pliant Industries. He's also a master thief, creating a pervasive threat to the manufacturing infrastructure in the Caribbean islands markets. With the cartel as his stealth client, the naive city leaders have been seduced, enabling the production of more than three-dimensional building materials.
The expected profits are monstrous.
Is the art group, now led by Gracie and the family heirs, strong enough to win against this predator?
Can JJ's cats act on the root cause analysis in time?
Will Gracie be able to squash Pliant and the cartels?
Gracie never considered their lives would hang in the balance. The clock is ticking. 5, 4, 3.
Have you wanted to publish your story? Have you thought about self-publishing? Today is your day. 5-star Amazon review. Self-publish your ebook on Amazon for free in 2024. This ebook is available on Amazon by Becca L. Jones.
Paradise, my prison. Charlie Flint awakens from a deep sleep and finds himself alone on a tropical beach surrounded by a palm tree jungle and exotic animals. He cannot remember who he is or anything about his life. First, he must find food and build shelter and protect himself from hidden dangers. As his memory gradually returns, it reveals what a very flawed person he is. A man who made too many mistakes, made too many enemies. The implications of the truth are staggering. How did Charlie get there? And will he save himself? Paradise, My Prison is the riveting new suspense thriller from retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. Paradise, My Prison by George Dismukes is available in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats worldwide.
And we're back. And Jim says everyone should work in retail or food service at least once.
To learn compassion.
Yes.
It would be a lot nicer world. You're right about that.
Yeah, be kind to the people who are your service people, no matter what kind of service they're in.
Yeah, because here these people are putting in windows and water heaters, and they're making the big bucks for the installation, and you're just the firewall. You know what I mean? And that's...
It did, you know what? It didn't bother me because I actually, whenever customers, my customers all had spent lots of money. Now she had spent, I don't know, $800 or $1,300, something like that. I mean, most of my customers had spent $44,000 for the work that they had done, you know?
Right.
And so if you have a problem with that, I understand why you're very upset. And so it just rolled off my back, but she really made me laugh. But what happened was the assistant store manager came over because she'd kind of been walking by and listening to this. And finally, after 20 minutes, she came over and she said to her, "You need to leave now or I'm calling the police to escort you out."
Oh, good for her or him. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be a limit to that stuff. That's abuse. You know, it's not right. Doesn't solve her problem.
Yeah. It really wasn't our problem. If it was our problem, I was their biggest advocate and made sure their problem got solved.
Right.
But really, installing a water heater has nothing to do with a leak in your kitchen sink. So.
No, there's no connection. Right.
Zero. I can attest to that.
Right.
Anyway, let's bring up yes. Here we go. If you want to speak with Dave or write with Dave or read more about Dave, go to his blog, davemurraywriter.blogspot.com, and that's DAVEMURRAYWRITER. Period. Blogspot. You know how to spell Blogspot, right? BLOGSPOG.
I hope so. But...
Anyway, that's where you can reach him, and you can find his Facebook information and all that kind of stuff. And you'll answer people if they write to you, right?
Well, of course. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from everybody. I hope I would hope that people will get a hold of me. This is a fantastic opportunity. I really said it 500 times already, but I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, we're happy to have you on the show. Mm-hmm. The book, to me, you know, your book is really important. Let me put that up here again. A Breath of Fresh Air, a Transplant Tale by Dave Murray. I think it would be encouraging for anybody who is facing that. And for people that have gone through it with a loved one, I think it'll be good for those kind of people too. But a lot of people have transplants. I have to ask you something, and I hope it isn't going to bother you.
We'll see.
We'll find out shortly. You know we're paranormal investigators, right?
I do know that. I was going to ask you about that before. I forgot.
Okay. So I have to know, so many people say that they get impressions and feelings from the donor.
Nothing.
Nothing.
I just, no, I'd like to say so, but no, nothing. No. I sometimes wish I did, so I'd know who the donor was a little bit better, you know?
Yeah.
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 No, that doesn't bother me. That's a good question.
I've read so many things about that where people
I have
would
too.
take up playing the piano and they'd never played it before, and then they
Right.
found out that their donor played the piano.
It depends on what organ has been transplanted too, possibly, you know.
Yeah.
Joe Conchal said, "It's a wonderful book. Read it to learn more about cystic fibrosis, but it's also a highly entertaining story," which is what brings me to my second comment, which is I really think you should write a second book.
Well, thank you. I will. I just don't know when.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've got to have the idea that is. I already had one idea and just discarded it. So, but if I have an idea that I can go to bed at and wake up and go, yeah, that's still a good idea, then maybe I'll get started.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do. I would start it to get a foothold, and that way I go back to it when I had more to work with. But you have to have can't start a fire without a spark, said Bruce Springsteen.
This is true.
Yeah.
But you can light a fire.
That's true. Yeah, I think I like to write. I mean, I've written since high school. I wrote for my school paper, and again, they had the New-Times stuff, and 2 books now, and I love to write texts. I mean, that sounds like a small thing, but I love funny texts.
And have you always been an avid reader also?
I'd like to say yes, but no, not lately. Don't have my attention span is terrible. It's just I can't concentrate sometimes. So
I get that.
yeah, I just no. I used to be sure. Yeah, I read a ton, but I just haven't as much, and I really should get back to it. But if I'm not reading, I'll be writing. So that's at least something.
So Jim has an idea. I have an idea for the title. Put Your Foot Right Here, a retail story.
All right, one more story. This is not, I don't think, in the book.
I'll contribute.
There, that maybe not so much now, but I think now guys like to make pseudo homosexual jokes about each other. That's just what we do, men. And we're in a boring training session for one of the stores we all worked at. And the guy's droning on, and I'm sitting kind of perpendicular from Jim. He goes, "Put your foot right here," which is just, I burst out laughing, which screwed up the whole training. But Jim is one of the funniest people, along with Joe, but Jim is the funniest person I think I've ever met. He really is.
Yeah. Well, you need to have a good sense of humor to work in retail, I'll tell you.
That's right.
For sure.
Yeah.
One of our daughters.
You're spoiling all my stories, though, guys. I don't think that's in the book. I don't remember, but I don't think it's in the book.
One of our daughters has worked in retail for Target for 30 years.
Well,
God bless her, right?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been working at the store I'm at on and off for 40.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Yeah. I'm semi-retired now, 3 days a week, but I still enjoy it. I'm still good at it, I sell electronics, so it's fun. I'm selling entertainment.
Yeah.
Can we mention where you can get the book?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Always mention
Obviously,
where you can
Amazon.
get the book.
You can get it either an ebook or a paperback copy. If you're in Syracuse, you can hit me up, and I can sell you one. They're $20. And if you want to order it from any bookstore, they can get it through Who's the distributor? Joe would know. What's the distributor?
Here's what Joe has to say. Here's one that's in the book. I'm not ready yet.
Yeah, I got to tell that one. We have time for one more?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, barely, but we do.
Barely. All right. Joe had come in at 1 o'clock. It's about 1 o'clock. I'm working in sales. And I had a pretty good day so far. I got there early. So a customer comes in and I says, Joe, you want an up? Which is what we call it, an up. And he goes, no, I'm not ready yet. So I walked over to the guy and like literally 5 minutes later, I got a $200 commission out of it. So I'm not ready yet was the catchphrase. A lot of catchphrases.
I'm not ready yet.
I'm not ready yet.
Joe Congel says Ingram Sparks.
Thank you very much, Joe. I knew you'd know. Yeah, that's they can order the book through Ingram Sparks.
Perfect.
So,
and you have an author's page on Amazon that they can go to?
Yes.
She does.
Yep.
I've looked at it.
I know, and I know that, but people listening need to know that.
That's right. No. You guys know what you're doing. I'm not questioning anything you're saying.
I'm just a sidekick here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim, this was a lot of fun. Thank you, Rob and Joan, for hosting our friend and very talented writer.
You are most welcome. We are really blessed to get to know you, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, vice versa.
So we're going to pop you over to the side here. So hold on so you don't fall off. Stay right where you're at until we come back to you.
Okay.
And let's see. Next week, everybody, Cyril and Richard is going to be on. And that's at 7 o'clock Eastern time right here where you're watching right now.
Paul Hollis says, great show. Thanks, Rob, Joan, and Dave.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess until next time.
That's all, folks. Good night.
See ya.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DV.com.